Most people never think deeply about the legal system until something serious happens. An injury, a medical mistake, a business dispute, an insurance conflict, or the loss of someone they love. In those moments, people need more than legal information. They need advocacy, strategy, communication, and someone who can help them navigate one of the most stressful seasons of their lives. Today, we are going to talk about trial law, client advocacy, civil justice, litigation strategy, and how technology may help law firms serve clients better without replacing the human judgment that legal work requires. Well, welcome to another edition of the Smart Office Podcast. I'm your host, Hippolyte Asa. I'm an AI implementation engineer, and I help small businesses use practical AI systems to improve operations and client experience, as well as growth. Today, I'm excited to welcome Eric Heninger, partner at Heninger, Garrison Davis. Eric is an experienced trial lawyer whose work includes personal injury, wrongful death, medical malpractice, insurance disputes, and business litigation. He has built a strong reputation as a civil trial advocate and has been recognized for his dedication to clients and the civil justice system. Eric, welcome to the Smart Office Podcast.
It's good to be with you and good to be here.
Perfect. I've been hoping and looking forward to having a discussion with you for some time now. Thank you for joining, because your work sits at the intersection of law, strategy, and advocacy and human impact. A lot of people think about litigation only as courtrooms and arguments, but for the client, it's often about trying to rebuild after something difficult has happened, right? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. I think this conversation will be valuable for many, many people, right? Clients, business people, clients, anyone who wants to better understand what strong legal advocacy really looks like, right?
I hope so.
Yeah. Let's start with your story, right? Eric, before we get into trial, work, and litigation, can you share your story? What led you into law and civil trial advocacy?
It's a very good question. I wish it was a short answer. So, you might have to give me a little bit of time. The short answer is my father was a trial lawyer, is a trial lawyer, a very good one, great reputation. But you ask how I got here, and I can admit to you now, after practicing for 25 plus years, I never wanted to be a lawyer. I never wanted to be a trial lawyer. The idea of putting in the hours necessary to be successful, standing up and speaking publicly, which was a huge fear of mine when I was younger. The amount of time you have to spend reading or writing, all things that I did not think that I had a particular skill for, it just never really translated into me becoming a lawyer. Why would I want to do that? And I saw how hard my dad had to work to be successful and to create that reputation. No, there's got to be an easier way, right? And so I went to college and was an English and philosophy double major. Now, let's just stop there. That kind of limits what I can do once I graduate. And, that in and of itself requires a lot of public speaking and a lot of writing and a lot of reading. So I was, what I wanted to do and what I ended up being pretty good at were just two very different things. So I wanted to be, initially in college, I wanted to be a teacher. Thought I really enjoyed this. Again, contrary to all the things that I thought would involve public speaking, reading, and writing, be a teacher. So I did some student teaching and realized that the tweed jacket and pipe as an English professor was probably not the best decision for me. It didn't fit. And so, again, going back to my education, I was pretty limited. I wasn't going to go to a newspaper and write. I didn't want to teach. What does everybody do with that kind of degree? You go to law school.
Yeah.
And I was really, really surprised, to be quite frank with you, that those 3 years in law school were the best times of my life. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the people. I enjoyed the challenge. I enjoyed the work. I enjoyed the studying and the test. Very much an aberration for most law students. And after my second year, sat down with my dad and thought, I think I can do this. I think I would enjoy doing this. And joined forces with him, still work with him. He's still working with us. He's the senior partner here at this law firm. And it's just been very fortunate to have had that opportunity to find what I think I'm good at. I have a biased opinion. Obviously, I have to look myself in the mirror and say that every morning. But if we've had success, and I think we're doing good work and leaving a mark on this community. So that's how I got to where I am today.
Wow, that's a good story there. Sometimes we feel like we know what we want to do, but we never really know until we can try and see where it's taking us. Well, you've handled work across personal injury, right? Like wrongful death, and medical malpractice, insurance disputes, and business. What connects those areas, like in these areas for you? Like, what's the main connection that you're able to do? Sometimes people specialize in one specific area, but you've done this. What's the connection right there?
Well, I think what really connects all those pieces is catastrophic injuries.
Okay.
Or death, which is pretty catastrophic as well. So catastrophic and complexity is really what it boils down to. And we do a lot of the traditional, what some lawyers refer to as blood and guts kind of personal injury work, with your normal car wrecks, your trip and falls, those types of things. We handle those, but what I'm passionate about are the complex cases. That I just feel like that's really where I can use my experience, my education, my background, my passion best. And there are a lot of lawyers here that can handle those other smaller cases that frees me up to handle the catastrophic stuff. And personally, I think everybody needs representation, but when you get into those catastrophic cases, that's where there's really a need.
Right.
Somebody can get in a car wreck and have a neck injury and they're going to get better after 3 months. They need representation, but I'm driven by that individual that was in a really severe car wreck and has a traumatic brain injury and is going to need physical therapy, occupational therapy, mental health therapy for the rest of their lives. And
Right.
it touches you more. You feel like you're doing more important work. Again, I don't want to minimize the other cases because they're important too.
Right.
It's just where I find my experience and my time is best spent is on those more challenging cases where I think I have a greater impact.
Wow, that makes sense. Wow. I see that can be very impactful. When someone, yes, just dialing by a little bit. So the name is Heninger Garrison Davis Law Firm, right? That's the
Yeah, Heninger Garrison Davis is Heninger like vinegar with an H.
yeah. Okay, and that's your dad.
Well, we have 5 equity partners. Dad is the senior partner at this firm.
Okay,
I'm one of the other equity partners.
so the name Davis, that's that.
No, Steve Heninger is my dad.
Okay,
Lou Garrison is another equity partner.
I see. Okay, so it's okay. So I see. That makes sense now. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, we have a total of 16 lawyers, but only 5 are the
Yeah, it looks
law
like
firm
it's.
owners.
Well, I was just looking like first name, middle name, last name. So I wanted to just be clear so for our listeners to know this is
Yeah.
the high score. So what do you want them when they say this Garrison, Hanninger Garrison Davis? What do you want someone who hears about that name? What do you want them to understand about the firm's approach to clients and cases?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what I would tell people, and I do tell people, is there are a lot of good lawyers in the city of Birmingham and state of Alabama and in the country. I think we do a really good job on a specific set of cases. Don't come to me asking me to draft you a lease agreement or a business agreement. That's not what I do. I don't do corporate law, but when you have an injury to yourself or a loved one, and it's going to impact you and your family, maybe it's going to inhibit the way you're going to work for the rest of your life, or someone's passed away and your family's concerned about their future with the death of a breadwinner, or even someone who's not a breadwinner, but is a real link in the family, anybody. Our firm does a good job. We specialize in that kind of work. We have over 100 years of experience in trial work. Now, when I say there's good lawyers, there are a lot of good lawyers, but there are not a lot of good trial lawyers. And people sometimes push those together. There are people who call themselves trial lawyers that haven't been to trial in 10 or 15 years, but do the work that I do, but are scared of the courtroom.
Right.
And so they lose some leverage in their reputation and their ability if they have to go to the court. And I think a lot of clients suffer from that. If you've got someone who wants to simply sit in their office and resolve a case and not have to take the risks associated with going to trial, it's dangerous for them because they end up getting less than a full cup of justice if they're
Right.
needed. So we've been doing this for a long time. We have experience with every type of injury case. We've got what I believe is a really good reputation in this community. We've got good relationships with the judges. They trust us. We're ethical, not to, belittle or downplay any of the marketing lawyers or the TV lawyers. There's a need there. We don't do that. We rely on our reputation. We rely on our skill and what people hear about us in the community and what other lawyers think about us.
Right.
To bring us cases. So proud of what we've done, proud of where we're going. And I would suggest that if someone needs a lawyer in this niche area, that they certainly should consider at least talking to us as one of the firms to speak with.
Do you have any specific area where you do focus? Like, is it advocacy, more advocacy? What area do you guys focus? I know you will certainly not draft a maybe a lease letter or something, or business letter. But what are some of the areas that our listeners may know that's some areas you may focus on?
Yeah. So the primary areas are personal injury. Anytime that there's an injury, if somebody else did something wrong that caused you an injury, we are a firm that you should at least consider.
Right.
Business litigation. There's sometimes businesses that get sideways, or there's a breach of contract, or
Right.
they do some type of fraud. We handle that kind of thing. Class actions, mass
Okay.
torts may involve pharmaceutical drugs that are
Right.
dangerous. Think there's like Depo-Provera and the opiate litigation that's going on
Right.
right now. Those are types of things that we get involved in. So if you think that there is a potential that, even if it's a slight potential, that you're going to be in a courtroom at some point and you need somebody to stand up there with you and advocate for your side, particularly if it's an injury case or a damages case, you suffered damages or your business has, then again, I would suggest that we be one of the handful of firms that you talk to.
Right. Can you share, maybe you have a client story or maybe some professional experience, maybe some strong advocacy work that you guys have done that has brought about some meaningful difference in the society? Maybe it's for someone's story, maybe it's a specific complex story, maybe you want to share with our listeners.
Sure, I'll give you certainly two, and I'm sure I can think of another third one that has
Right.
impact that we see every day right now. Early in my career, I handled a case against a delivery company. And what happened was, a gentleman that I represented was walking across the back of a warehouse type setting and was run over from behind. So he was walking, a box truck, a delivery truck backed over him. Pretty significant injury. Now, when we're outside downtown or we're around a lot of traffic, you hear the backup signals, the beep, beep, beep.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Wasn't always there. And also, you have now the backup cameras on most every car.
Right.
Those weren't always there either. So
Okay.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that case was the reason that those things were implemented.
Right.
But my case was a group of cases that required that those advances in safety was discovered and implemented. We've had medical malpractice cases where there have been significant injuries. And I'm speaking someone who walked into the hospital and is now confined to a wheelchair because they're paraplegic. Something went wrong in the surgery. That case by itself changed the way the hospital performed procedures in an operating room. So huge impact on the way every day patients go in there and receive care in a hospital room. We changed that process and that procedure. We've had cases that really have tied together traumatic brain injuries that expand the amount of care and treatment that are available for them and really drive home what they're going to need and how to compensate them for the incredible changes in their life that they're going to have to suffer from. So those are three examples. I know there's hundreds more, but if I were a client and you asked that same question, I would hope that they would say they helped change my life for the better,
Right.
because without them, I would have been looking at a different future. I would not have the funds for medical care. I wouldn't have the funds to provide for my family any longer. So I
Okay.
think
Wow.
every case is as significantly as important as the other one.
Well, I mean, these are cases that really have changed community for the better, especially that one about the backing up that is impactful. I see most of these big trucks, when they back up, there's that sound, and it's been widely adopted. And then there is the backup cameras too. Before it was just an upgrade, but now it has been widely adopted, like a base issue. Now even across North America, you wouldn't find a car today without a backup. It has really reduced a lot of accidents, injuries, and it's helped a lot. It can be amazing how some little change, some design, some idea can really be very impactful in the lives of the community of people. All right. So after years of trial, what do you wish more people understood about civil litigation, or before they need it? Is there anything,
Goodness.
maybe where the clients usually feel most confused, or maybe what do people always feel, maybe often misunderstand about timeline of cases? Like maybe some people think it's just like, I'll just walk into court and the judge is going to say, yeah, you're free. Like something we see on TV, like Judge Judy saying this and then
Yeah. I mean, that question, it could be the subject of a 4-hour podcast by itself.
Right.
So I would say one of the most frustrating things that I see my clients having to deal with, and I'm accustomed to it, so it doesn't bother me as much,
Yeah.
is the speed of the case. And we really even shouldn't use that word speed, because there's no speed associated at all with civil litigation. It is incredibly slow. We aspire to have turtle-like speed,
Right.
which would be wonderful. But I think what most people don't understand and it's really hard for them to wrap their head around is they come in to see me and it's never a good day when they come see me. I mean, they're
Right.
not happy to see me. It's like going into the ER. Nothing good has
Right.
happened if you're going into the ER. But we all have expectations,
Yeah.
and most of them are wildly inaccurate. And I see people that come to see me that have studied a similar situation to maybe something that's happened in California or
Mhm.
in England or in New York City. And it's dramatically different how that case is going to be received in Birmingham, Alabama. So it's really one of the hardest things that we have to deal with is sit down and talk with clients about the expectations of the case. I certainly want to do the best I can for them, and I know they want to do as well as possible. But what we've got to be thinking about from the very beginning to the very end is what are 12 strangers going to think about this claim? In other words, we've got to always be thinking about what's a jury going to think about the story that you're telling, the injuries that you suffered or that you're alleging, and how receptive they're going to be, and how prepared are they going to be to hold someone else accountable for those injuries. And we've had cases where the injuries are just horrible, but the jury is just, we don't think it's a big deal. We think the doctor really, really did their best to try and help you. And maybe they did, but there was a very, very bad result. And so that's one of the biggest challenges. I think I try and deliver clear advice or offer clear advice that's dispassionate,
Right.
but it's really hard to talk to some families who have lost a loved one and they're sitting across from you in a conference room and you're telling them they may not have as good a case as they think they do. And for all the reasons, it's really hard to accept. It would be hard for me to accept. And so that's one of the biggest challenges that we face is getting through to our clients what the reality of a case is. And I've sat in conference rooms and I said, goodness, folks, y'all have a great case. I don't know if the defendant or the person that caused this injury has enough money to even satisfy everything that you deserve. But we're going to
Exactly.
go try and get as much as they can. So that's one of the biggest challenges. But again, I could give you 15 more, but I don't think we have
Right.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. What advice would you give someone who is choosing a lawyer for a serious injury, maybe malpractice or insurance dispute or business litigation? Any advice? I know people may not have the privilege, our listeners, some of our listeners don't have the privilege of maybe reaching out to you probably there in Alabama, but in other areas in North
Yeah,
America, what would you advise them to make sure they have a good case, choose the right lawyer?
I would. I would encourage people to take your time. What I see far too often is people see a commercial, pick up a phone, and are hiring a lawyer, and they don't even realize that they've hired a lawyer. They don't even ask the right questions. So, what are the questions? If I wasn't a lawyer and my wife came to me or my mom came to me and she said, "I'm looking to hire a lawyer," what are the things I need to consider? One is their reputation.
Right.
And how do you get that? I would ask other lawyers that maybe, if I need to have someone draft me a will, I'm not going to go on the internet and say, who can draft me a will? I'm going to go talk to other lawyers in this firm and say, who do you know that does a good job that you've seen that has a good reputation? Ask other lawyers. They'll know who has a good reputation. When you get to a lawyer, when you're interviewing a lawyer, ask all the questions on the front end. How much experience do you have in this kind of case? Go even further. How many times have you been in a courtroom and actually tried a case like this? Because if it's a good case, every lawyer you talk to is going to say, well, yeah, I'm the best.
I'm the best.
I'm the
Yeah.
best. And maybe they are. Maybe they have been to trial. But I see it every single day when I see other lawyers referring medical malpractice cases to me. And I'm thinking, how in the world did that lawyer get any kind of medical malpractice case? This lawyer can't do anything.
Right.
Surprised they can drive, but they're getting all this business. And I think I know they're anyway, but ask the experience, the reputation. Have you tried this case? Have you had success? Have you lost? If you have a lawyer tell you that they've never lost that kind of case in trial, they're lying to you. That means they haven't been trying cases.
Right.
Because I will tell you right now, trial is a flip of the coin, and I have lost as many as I've won. I hate to say it, but it is the truth. And if you're not losing, you're not trying. And so just try and get to the nut of it. Ask the questions that you really want to know. Why is the fee what it is?
Right.
What are you going to do? What about expenses? How long is this going to take? Are you going to be the lawyer working on my case? Or are you just the one talking to me and you're going to assign me to somebody else in your firm that I've not met yet? And maybe I don't trust. So those types of things need to be asked and researched.
So when it comes to clients or advocates, do you sometimes feel or tell your clients extra when you know the case is not going to be successful? Do you only take only cases where would you consider only cases you know you're going to win, even if you're going to lose at the end? Like Because sometimes clients that come to you, sometimes you have to tell them, you know what, there's no need wasting your money. There's no need going further. I've reviewed it. There's no option here for us to win. Or how does that happen? Because sometimes people feel like if I'm going to trial, I'm definitely going to win. It's because I have leverage. I'm going to win. But then you get to trial and then you're surprised that you lose the case. So do they come back and say, well, no, you're supposed to win this case. We're not supposed to lose the case or something like that?
Yeah. So the good lawyers will be very, very blunt with the client and talk to them about the risks of trial and the advantages that they have so that they can make an educated decision. Again, if a lawyer tells you this is a slam dunk, we're going to win 100 out of 100 times, they're lying to you. They hadn't been to trial because it's like a basketball game. Right. You don't win 88-0. The other team is going to score a point.
Of course. Yeah.
But you ask a good question. How does it work? And so people who have suffered an injury or have a loved one that suffered an injury need to understand most lawyers like me who are plaintiff personal injury lawyers work on what's called a contingency fee basis, which means me getting paid at all is contingent on us winning the case. And am I going to take a case that I know is likely to lose? No, that's a very, very bad business decision. If it doesn't meet the elements that are required under the law, if there's a way that I can't prove the story that you're telling me is true, I can't prove that you're hurt as badly as you're telling me you are hurt, I'm likely to tell you, I'm sorry, I don't think I can win that case. Or maybe it's all true. Maybe they can prove everything, but the injury is so small that the cost of working the case, the expenses involved, don't justify pursuing it. For example, we do a lot of medical malpractice case, and I think you have to go into those cases assuming that the law firm is going to spend somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000 to getting that case ready for trial. The really serious cases are far more expensive. We're talking about in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that the law firm assumes. We take the risk. So I'm not going to spend $10,000 if I don't think we're going to win. I'm certainly not going to spend $1,000 if I don't think we're going to win. And I'll tell people that. And some people get very, very upset and they don't understand it. They think, I'm hurt. I need a lawyer. You're a lawyer. Let's go get the money.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. And there are a lot of factors that go into it and make it. It's a difficult decision. But again, if you have a lawyer that will sit down and explain things to you, hopefully you will understand at the end. I'm not saying you're going to be happy, but hopefully you'll understand that. And I'll also say, if I turn a case down, it's usual that I will give them 3 other names. Go get a second opinion. I don't pretend like I know everything. There may be somebody out there that loves taking these risks. I'm just not in a position to do it, and go get a second, third, or fourth opinion.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That sounds very, a lot of clients certainly don't know that, but I'm guessing some people know, but this episode of the Smart Office podcast is sponsored by EveryBrain AI. Most businesses are not losing money because they lack good people. They are losing money because too many things still depend on manual follow-up, missed calls, slow response times, and repetitive admin work. That is where EveryBrain AI comes in. We build AI implementation and automation systems that help your business run smarter. From AI receptionists and smart scheduling to lead qualification, workflow automation, client follow-up, and multi-channel lead generation. Imagine having a system that answers inquiries, qualifies prospects, books appointments, follows up automatically, and helps your team focus on the work that actually grows revenue. And the best part, it's done for you. No long-term contracts, no complicated tech headaches. Most systems can be up and running in 5 to 10 days. So whether you want to save time, cut overhead, or generate more qualified leads, EveryBrain AI can help you build the automation layer your business needs. Visit everybrainai.com and book your free strategy call today. EveryBrain AI, we build AI that runs your business. Not everyone. Let's dive a little bit here with everything Heninger, Garrison Davis is doing across litigation, client advocacy. What are you most focused on when it comes to improving? Maybe you focus on improving right now. What are you focused on? Maybe in the processes or client intake or how processes take in terms of timing? What's the priority at the moment?
So the priority at the moment here, and every firm is at different stages all the time. And hopefully they're all trying to improve whatever they have going on. We've just gotten through a stage where we've really improved our client communication. We've really improved our intake process. We've got some really strong employees in those areas. My focus right now, and the biggest challenge right now, is how do we incorporate technology into our everyday practice? How do we include that into our processes and leverage it to be more efficient and more successful and do greater amounts of business? And You mentioned earlier that you're involved in AI implementation. That is the buzzword and has been for the past 12, 18 months in law firms. I know it was
Yeah.
out there before,
Right.
but law firms are always probably on the tail end of
Exactly.
adopting technology because
Mhm.
we're always suspicious of things.
Of course.
And we also have I don't think it's unique, but it's probably a lot like the medical field. We have people that have been practicing law almost 50. Let's stop and think about that. They didn't even have fax machines 50 years ago.
Exactly.
And they were asking them to put AI into everything that they do. It's a slow
Process.
adoption process.
Yeah.
And so making that, firm wide or corporate wide, it's a challenge. So what can we do to make those people feel more comfortable using the new technology? How are we doing it safely?
Right.
And how are we doing it effectively? So there's about 1,000 different little pieces that go into that conversation.
Mhm.
Well, and let's not forget that AI advances. It seems like every 24 hours
Yeah.
there's a change. And so what you did 2 months ago is
Maybe
now
different.
obsolete.
Right.
And so going to them every time there's a new change, you're going, hey guys, guess what? We're going to tweak this a little bit. They're like, oh my
No.
God,
Yeah.
just learn how to do it. So that's the challenge that we're facing right now.
I had a lawyer who wouldn't even use DocuSign, the electronic signature. Like he was like, no, you have to come in the office and because I'm going to be sure of this. I'm like, okay, if you have to do that, you have to book an appointment, an hour for every client. How
Yeah.
about you serve many clients at the same time? So I really understand what you're saying, that you're having lawyers that have been working for 50, 40 years and they are very skeptical about new tech.
Yeah.
And some lawyers still are getting it adopted and getting things done. Is this something you've been thinking about probably for the next 6 to 12 months? Like what made you think about that, or what impact has it got on your processes if you could change that?
Yeah. So, again, I can answer that in a lot of different ways, but we really started seeing this become an issue. I'm going to go back even further. We were a traditional law firm where we would get cases, we do marketing efforts, and we've always been successful, but we've not really had any data that supports our theory.
Right.
But we've done a lot of things by anecdote. I went to this meeting and I picked up 2 new referring lawyers. Oh, that's great. But then, how do you know your involvement with that lawyer is actually producing something? What's the return on that investment? So it was very anecdotal. So the first step was kind of tracking our data.
Right.
And that was a big step for us. And, that may be a little embarrassing to say because I know a lot of our competitors have been tracking data for years. Certainly our competitors have. And so I know I'm not the latest one to do that or the latest one to that party, but it's a needed change. So
Right.
that's where we started. And in doing so, AI in the legal sphere really started kicking up and we started realizing, gosh, there are a lot of different things that we can do from
Yeah.
focus group, from, making our intake far more efficient, to really paring down the time it takes to review medical records, to do research. I think there's also that fear that all these hallucinations going on. So we've got to get past that hurdle. So wh- all those things, how do we implement them? Are we doing it the right way? Are we training the people the right way? And I've gotten so frustrated with the process because I can't keep up with it. I'm also expected to represent clients at some point in the day
Exactly.
and take care of the lawyers here. So we just decided, well, currently what we're doing, we have vendors at different levels to all offer different services. And so we have a vendor stack, which is a little frustrating because once we sign a contract, it feels like in 3 months that product is obsolete. And they're not doing any R&D to improve. And
Right.
meanwhile, this other company is doing great work and I'm left in the dust. So we've gone out and hired a CTO, and that individual's job is to audit all of our systems. What are we doing? What are we using it for? How can we improve it? Are we doing it safely? How can we make it safer, more secure? And we're going to build our own, whether that's with Claw, whether that's going to be ChatGPT next week or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
But we're going to use AI to where it does what we want it to do, which may be unique to our firm,
Right.
instead of taking some square product outside and try and
And
put
then
it in
put
the
it
circuit
in-
system
yeah.
here. And so looking at what the vendor stack we have, I'm probably going to end up spending less money on hiring a person to come in and do this and whose job is to keep up with all the advances so I don't have to do it.
Right.
So I'm hoping if we talk again in 6 months, that project is done.
Done. Yeah.
And now it's just little tweaks here and there to make
Tweaks.
sure that people are using it the right way and if we're on the right platform and what needs to happen.
Wow, sounds good. Now, when you look at the system, is it only client intake, or do you have like case screening, documentation collection, or is it everything like discovery? What area is it most acute in such a way that can maybe follow up, or knowledge management, or what area when it comes to technology would you be
It's going
most
to be,
focused on?
I would like to get to the point where we can completely eliminate a receptionist position.
Right.
That somebody is still there in the event somebody wants to talk to someone live, but it is not their full-time job from 8 to
Right.
5. I can free up that person to do something that's
More important.
more
Yeah.
strategic. Intake is going to handle. It will take that information, will, summarize it and get it to a lawyer. Like if it's a new client calling in, get their information, summarize it, get it to me. I make a decision pretty quickly. And also with that, have it learn what our parameters are for what cases we want. If you are calling about a med mal case and you're upset you have a hangnail, I don't want that case because there's no value in it.
It's not
So how
valid.
do we create a system there that can go ahead and let the client know this is not a case we want. I'm not even going to push this to Eric to review. We're going to go ahead and turn you down. So it's also going to keep up with, how does this client get our information? Was it from an attorney? Was it from the web? Was it from our website? However it happened. Then also utilize it in creating or going and getting medical records. That's one of the biggest issues we face. It's time consuming. There's a lot of hurdles there. So go ahead and use that to issue requests for those medical records, follow up and get those medical records. And then once they come in, guess what? We're going to summarize them too. So I don't have to look through thousands of pages to find out what I'm really looking for.
Yeah.
And so condense all that time and free me up, free my assistants up, free the receptionist up, the HR up, whoever it
Right.
may be, to do the things because there's still going to be critical thinking
Of
involved.
course.
How do these medical records line up with what we have to prove at trial? And can we? If we can't, we get rid of the case. If we can, we go a step further. So that's all really on the front end of a case. Once you get into a case, there's always the need for researching legal issues.
Mhm.
And I think researching legal issues, what we may think of as brainstorming claims, AI is perfect for that right now
Right.
because you're just wanting ideas. You're not really dedicated to complete accuracy. I just need some ideas. And so it does a really good job with that. If it comes to accuracy, we're getting into all those hallucination issues that the courts are starting to address left and right. So just, make sure our people understand, double check. You're not relinquishing your role as an attorney to AI,
Right.
but some try to.
Of course.
And that's going to improve. It will get to a point at some future day that, you're going to have to check less and less. But there's going to be some authorship too that you can
Right.
use AI for. And, figuring out how that marries with our critical thinking is going to be important. And so, that's kind of the middle stage. It's not going to take the place of taking depositions or appearing in
Of
trial.
course.
I mentioned jury focus groups. I think AI is already positioned, if you use it right,
Right.
to give you really powerful big data information on your case and what the demographics are in your specific venue and give you a range of what the value of your case would be. So that's about 10 things.
Right.
And I know that there are probably 50
50 more. Yeah.
that I've not thought about, but with the CTO, I'm hoping I don't have to think about it.
Right.
That's their job. And I
That's the job.
get them to tell me how to use it.
This episode of the Smart Office podcast is sponsored by EveryBrain AI. Most businesses are not losing money because they lack good people. They are losing money because too many things still depend on manual follow-up, missed calls, slow response times, and repetitive admin work. That is where EveryBrain AI comes in. We build AI implementation and automation systems that help your business run smarter. From AI receptionists and smart scheduling to lead qualification, workflow automation, client follow-up, and multi-channel lead generation. Imagine having a system that answers inquiries, qualifies prospects, books appointments, follows up automatically, and helps your team focus on the work that actually grows revenue. And the best part, it's done for you. No long-term contracts, no complicated tech headaches. Most systems can be up and running in 5 to 10 days. So whether you want to save time, cut overhead, or generate more qualified leads, EveryBrain AI can help you build the automation layer your business needs. Visit everybrainai.com and book your free strategy call today. Everybrain AI, we build AI that runs your business. That was going to be my next question regarding what part of the trial should always remain human led. So is it just the trial certainly is going to remain human, right? What other parts is, no matter what, when it comes to legal law, which part is going to remain human?
I'm hopeful when I answer this question. And I
Right.
realize that there are probably people out there that think, Eric, it would be really nice to replace all human lawyers with robots.
Nice. Not going to happen anytime soon.
I hope it doesn't happen anytime, but I understand the sentiment because some lawyers are very difficult to talk to. And again, it's not, they're not very empathic. I would think anytime that there's some emotion involved or persuasion involved, there's going to have to be a lawyer. And so where I see it currently and probably in the next few years remaining is client interaction. If you're going to if a lawyer is going to sit down and talk with the client about these are the advantages in your case, these are the disadvantages, these are where the risks are. I don't know that an AI system can do it, but you need to be able to do it with a little bit more emotion and explanation. I don't think it can be done this passionately. Then you get to a situation where, the clients are almost always going to have to be deposed. They're going to have to go into a room and be asked questions that help educate the other side as to what your claims are and how you can prove them. I don't think a robot can do that yet. Now, they can feed you the questions to ask, but what we find in every deposition is a question is really just the start of the conversation.
Right.
It's not the end. And so how does that answer to the question? You're going to go in 100 different paths. And I don't think an AI can create the questions based on the answer, but it doesn't have the knowledge or experience to know which direction to take. And then certainly, in my field, you're going to have mediation, which is when you go and it's really a day focused on negotiating this specific case. And again, AI can probably give you some parameters and steps to get where you want to be. But the problem is you're dealing with humans on the other side that are going to respond to your beliefs. And you also have a client that you can't predict how they're going to respond emotionally to the negotiation. So you're going to have some human in the room that is nimble enough and educated enough and has enough experience to handle all those emotions and comments during the day. I think right now trial speaks for itself. Every decision that's made in trial can go 100 different ways, some good, some bad. And having somebody there with the experience that can understand where there are risks, what landmines to avoid, what things you shouldn't go down, which paths you shouldn't go down, that's where you're really paying for a lawyer. And AI can give you a path, but I will assure you it's probably not going to be successful. They've never been in trial before.
Of course. Let's go back to trial when it comes to trial and legal issues. For someone who may be facing serious legal issues, what first steps should they take, let's say, on both sides of without getting a lawyer?
Yeah, so I would definitely get a lawyer. I've seen it happen so many times, and it's depressing. Somebody has a really good case and tries to represent themselves, and it just goes south very, very quickly. I mean, look, I'm a lawyer. We've had issues in our firm where we've gone outside and gotten legal counsel to advise us because if it's your case, you're too close to it. You're too passionate about it. You cannot see things objectively.
Okay, yeah.
And so getting somebody that can talk to you, maybe talk you off the ledge a little bit by doing something silly or stupid and advising you on the best paths given the certain information that you provide for them. You may not decide to hire that lawyer. That's certainly within your rights. Nobody's forcing you to, but you need a voice. You need some advice. Somebody who's been through that before can at least give you some direction. If you're facing an injury, I would go back to the question you asked about what are the things that you should ask or look at.
Right.
Think about hiring a lawyer. I think all those are important. On the other side, people that, I may sue in my profession, they have less choice. So let's say I'm suing a hospital. They're insured by an insurance company, and that insurance company gets to decide who the lawyers are. So they have less choice involved, but certainly they have a voice in how the litigation is going to be handled and the direction that they want it to go. I would encourage them to ask all the same questions that someone that's a patient or a plaintiff or a future client to ask too, because I think you need to make sure that the person standing up next to you in trial has been there before, knows the pitfalls, knows the landmines and how to avoid them. Or if you're going to hit the landmine anyway, tell you what's going to happen when you hit that and what the risks are that's involved. And so, gosh, just really do your research, ask a lot of questions. The good lawyers are not going to be afraid to answer your questions.
Right.
The ones who really push really, really hard for you to sign a contract really quickly are going to treat you as a number. And they just need to make sure that they're covering their bases for their marketing budget. So be really careful. If you feel like you're being pushed, you probably are, and it's probably not a good position for it.
You're right. You're very right there. It's one key thing you've said. If you feel like you can be very passionate about your own issue, your own case, and feel like everything lines up, and certainly you're underlooking or certainly not seeing things that are in fine prints that may end up not helping you out. But where can people learn more about you and connect with HGD?
Yeah, we're on the web, obviously, hgdlawfirm.com. We're on Instagram and YouTube. I have my own Instagram channel or Instagram account, my own YouTube channel, Eric Heninger. I think my name's on down here at the bottom. Our number is 326-3336. happy to talk to you anytime. We still got a live person, so you want to talk to a human, you still can for a short period of time.
Sure.
Whether you talk to a human or not, it will get to one of us, and we can be more than happy to talk to you to what you can expect.
Wow, Eric, thank you for joining me on the Smart Office podcast. I really appreciate your insight on trial law, with justice, litigation strategy, and helping clients navigate difficult legal situations with clarity and strength. Lee, a good discussion.
Well, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.